revitalization tools that work. How well they work depends on many factors, and in some instances their effectiveness may be limited to arresting the decline or even minimally turning it around. That's still superior to continued decline. In 2012, Belmar welcomed at least 15 new businesses. In that same time, there was a significant investment in the improvement of at least 4 commercial properties on Main Street. That is some significant improvement in the context of a tremendously challenging economy, and with a SID that has a budget substantially smaller than that of SIDs responsible for similar sized business areas. We consistently say that it takes at least 3, if not more years before you will start to see a change in a SID managed area to the extent that it really stands out as progress. Think about how the borough spends money on projects versus how a SID, especially one with a nominal budget, does. Let's say there's a need for 30 benches on the street at around $2,000 each. The borough might bond for the expenditure and have them on the street within a few months. The SID, on the other hand, would purchase 5 benches a year for 6 years. Project that same scenario over most areas of the SID's functioning, and you gain a greater appreciation of the concept of incremental, sustainable improvement. I think it speaks well for the leadership of the Belmar Business Partnership, the managers of your SID, that they continue to bring professional, sustainable, incremental improvement in spite of a budget that has declined substantially every year, and in spite of unpredictable cash flow in terms of how the BBP is paid assessment revenue. For example, the BBP did not receive the last 2 quarters of revenue for 2012 until February of 2013, which meant delaying programs that had been intended to be carried out in the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2012. If special improvement districts have worked well for so many communities, one certainly can benefit Belmar. And if there are issues, I suggest working with the Belmar Business Partnership to resolve them. Belmar has an effective tool in the Belmar Special Improvement District and the Belmar Business Partnership. The volunteer hours that are dedicated to the BBP by its volunteers amount to tens of thousands of dollars in additional value. I can't urge strongly enough that you support the budget of the Belmar Special Improvement District and the Belmar Business Partnership. Thank you.
Portas.
I'm sorry.
You know, I respect all of you, especially you, Mayor. Okay? I respect if I say something that affects you, please. That's the way I will feel, and I will say that it is. What they wanted, if they wanted to improve the business, give the bill to the business people, not to homeowners. We pay taxes enough. We don't want anybody else. I'm 48 years here. I was in business for 35 years. I was so successful. It was all except to the people. We take care of people, that's a business improve. Okay? So we not take care of business, people, they go someplace else, whatever they like. We don't need nobody to come in town or anywhere to tell us how to run our town. We have the people of town take care of our town. Please, don't pass that bill. I beg you hundreds of times, a million times. This is not fair. These people, they're not for us. They're not for that. They put the bicycle things, all right? They put the wrong place, we can get out our cars. They put the trees, we can't get out our cars. Parking. This is not fair. You have to think, thinking about the people. Anybody, I don't know who to blame. The mayor, the engineers, the planners. I always don't know which one to blame. So,
Blame the planners.
Well, when they give the order, that's all not thinking about the people. And if they don't think about people, and they put the bicycles, things here, front of somebody else's property, business, this is not the way. I don't want any people like that. I wanted you guys, the whole town people, to take care of our town, and I don't want somebody else. And make the bills higher, higher, higher. How far can we go? And please, one more minute, one more thing I tell you.
Sure.
No 5 minutes to some people embarrassing other people, please. If you don't have a 5 minutes on these people, should not make a 5 minutes on anybody else.
Well,
I appreciate it very much.
No, we usually keep the 5 minutes for the public portion. This is the hearing, so if you wanted to speak longer than 5 minutes, you certainly could.
We're giving people longer than 5
Well,
minutes for this.
Because I respect you so much, and I've done everything as a young man you are. But please, thinking about your town people, please, don't make the people, we pay, and do wrong things. Steady, whatever you have to do. And make sure you do the right thing. Thank you.
My name is Tom Burke. I'm from 10th Avenue, Belmar. I'm here to speak against the SID approval, or the SID adoption of the budget tonight. In making my analysis, I studied two documents. The report that was submitted by SID, I think in January, an amended budget that was submitted last month, and I analyzed the recent audit that the SID people had performed for their 2012 fiscal year. Before I get into that, I just want to say that I come from 20 years experience operating my own business, 15 years as a member of Chamber of Commerce, 3 years as a president of Chamber of Commerce in Monmouth County. Prior to that, I had 15 years experience in program planning, development, evaluation, and in budget preparation analysis. So I think I have some background in coming up with the analysis that I did. I also want to state that I sort of view this in two separate things: the SID, the Special Improvement District, and the Belmar Business Partnership. I have the utmost respect for the people in this community who participated, their volunteered their hours and their efforts to making Belmar a better community. I, for one, have my Belmar card. I shop in Belmar. I live in Belmar. I eat breakfast in Belmar. Most often eat lunch in Belmar. I attended all the cruise nights. So even though I'm against SID, I'm for a better Belmar. In making my analysis, I went back to the enabling legislation. Glasses. New Jersey SA 40:56-65 says that for assessments to be made, there has to be a direct benefit for those people who are assessed. A direct benefit. Recent court rulings in New Jersey have even taken it a step further by saying these benefits must be unique and measurable. Okay? The Department of Community Affairs also says that there has to be a direct benefit to the people who are assessed. I will maintain that there are people in this town who are assessed SID allegations that do not receive any direct, perceivable, measurable benefit. You know, I'm sure they're willing to speak out for themselves. The second thing is Chapter 34 of the Belmar Code. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. Calls for a detailed annual budget which will be reasonably itemized and show how it directly relates to the goals and objectives of the SID. I have looked at the report. Where are the goals and objectives? I see a lot of verbiage. I don't see goals and objectives, task statements, how you're going to measure, how you achieve and meet your goals. I don't see it there. Lastly, I looked at the audit that was recently submitted. And I found one thing very interesting. It shows that approximately 47% of the expenditures made last year were in the areas of administration. Okay? Page 4 of the audit specifically says, and I added them up, executive director salary is $35,000, salaries and wages another $11,000, so on and so forth. The total amount of that comes to $71,000, or approximately 47% of the total budget. To me, that's totally unacceptable. If you go and look at the reports that they submitted, specifically on page 14, there's a proposed budget for 2013. If you look at that, there's a whole paragraph there that is very misleading. They talk about one section of their budget being for administration, but while in fact every single part of that budget has an administrative cost allocated to it. It's a ruse. More than half of the money that they spend is for administration and staff and rent, and the people are not receiving any direct benefit from it. That's all I have to say.
Any other comments on the SID? Just raise your hand, wait to be called on.
Thank you. My name is Robert Harris. I own a commercial property in town, and I came before this board
What's the
probably
address?
711 13th Avenue. It's an industrial building against the railroad tracks, 13th and Railroad, also known as Belmar Self-Storage. I came before this board 10 years ago and was granted an approval and was asked to do specific things to my property at my own expense, which I did: pavers, sidewalks, curbing, landscaping, facade, and so forth. And I'm very happy that I did those improvements, and I would never take a dime from anybody or ask for a contribution. My main office is in Freehold, and we have a SID in downtown Freehold, so I'm very familiar with the way it works. I have 2 properties in Freehold, and both of those properties pay into the SID. And from what I've seen from the SID in Freehold, the main beneficiaries are restaurants, which I'm happy for, but those are the businesses that seem to thrive on weekends with the outdoor seating and so forth. I've run businesses for quite some time. I feel that I have some expertise. I'm also a commercial real estate broker for 18 years. And I just want to start by saying that the way to improve a business district is not to add a tax onto property owners, because that just gets passed on. That just gets passed on to the tenants as triple net rents, and therefore it gets passed on to the end user or the customer. We have a lot of empty storefronts in town, and the way to get those storefronts filled are to give incentives, free rents, to give a fast approval process for businesses to come in. I was in Red Bank in 1993 and opened up a fast food place. And it was not a permitted use, but I went before the board and they gave me an express approval, which got me open or approved within 45 days. I didn't have to submit in site plans, I didn't have to go through the red tape. A lot, and I'm not saying this town does it, but I can just tell you other towns, they'll sit on applications and make people wait before they even look at them or approve a plan or give a permit, and that hurts the tenant as well as the owner. I feel that business owners are responsible for their own success and that they need to run a business and attract their customers. I feel that the building owner is responsible for their buildings and that they should be directed by the building department or zoning if they don't adhere to a certain look, or if they're in violation, then they should have to make good on it and clean the property up. You can't expect fellow business owners just to put money into a fund. Why am I giving $5,000 towards someone's facade up the street? I don't understand that. I'm on the railroad tracks and I don't get anything. So I don't get a bench, I don't get a paver, a flag. I don't want it. If I need something in my property, I'll do it myself. I don't go to government to help me. I help myself.
Yes.
I take care of myself. And this is just redistribution of income. Why am I taking my money and giving it to someone up the street? He owns a property. He's going to see the benefit of that property if he runs his business and if he sells it. you know, he's gonna see the profit. So I just feel that you should let business owners run their own businesses. I give to my community, I shop here, I'll give $5,000, put it into the boardwalk, but I don't wanna give it to someone's salary. 44% of the income from that SID last year, my calculations, 44% went to overhead. It was hidden in the budget. I have it with me now, I dissected it, and it's very clear. If they wanna help, volunteer. Give your time for free and show me you really care. Take my money and put it into infrastructure and doing the right thing, not into salary.
Yes. Oh, this isn't the public portion, this is just on the city.
All right. All right, I'd like to know of the new businesses that opened up within last year. You said, I forget how many were the responsibility of Sid bringing those businesses?
Someone from the city want to address that? I mean, I know you wrote it down here, but someone like to stand up and address it?
The majority of them we did not bring in directly, and that is typical of a special improvement district. You know, the purpose of a special improvement district is to create an environment, an overall environment that's attractive to businesses coming in. You know, if they want to work with us, you know, we're there to work with them or with the property owners. But our primary concern is creating an environment. You know, we're not the leasing agents, but we do try to create an environment and an awareness that will attract businesses.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Walt?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Walter McGowan. I own a business and a building at 10th Avenue Main Street. Just as an aside, before I get started, I'd like to tell Brian McGovern, last night we had a meeting of the Spring Lake Five, and Jay from Belmar Grammar School was picked after a fierce competition to sing in front of 12,500 people, the national anthem at Spring Lake Five. So Belmar should be very proud of it. 2 years ago, I spoke out in opposition to the SID. I've been in opposition to the bid in Spring Lake since the beginning. Most of you were here, heard what I had to say. Basically, I agree with Mr. Harris. At the end of the day, you're raising the rents. You know, it's hard for us to get tenants. I bought 10th Avenue, we go into Belmar, I bought suites into Belmar. I had to get them breaks to get in. I had to fix the place, give them new warnings and do things. I spent a lot of money to get these tenants. I had to help them get started, and you know, I didn't ask for help from anybody. I don't want help from anybody. I'm a businessman. I've been doing this for 35 years. I've got 13 buildings under management. So again, I agree with Mr. Harris, and I'm opposed to refunding the SID. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure it is.
Hi, Belmar council members. I'm Bart Arnold. I'm also a property owner and a business owner in town, so I have the perspective from both sides. And I would like to share my experience. I knew that when this came through 2 years ago, it was bringing in a new bureaucracy to take money and redistribute it the way they saw fit. So I asked, you know, my tenants if they have had any direct benefit from the SID, which is one of the things they say they've done. And, funny thing is, I think maybe one of my tenants even know they exist. From a business owner's perspective. My own business, Shark River Kayak Company, maybe somebody would have reached out and said, hey, we're promoting, we have money that we've assessed, we've gotten from you, maybe you have some ideas. Also, as the president of the Chamber of Commerce, it was their mission at the beginning to try to include Belmar and try to include the businesses. And the Chamber of Commerce is a tradition in this town. I took the position as president because my dad was president of the Chamber of Commerce some years ago. And we have a true belief, the people that live here in Belmar, that grew up here in Belmar. I came back to Belmar because I love Belmar. The Shark River Kayak Company is basically just getting by losing money because I wanted to bring something to Belmar. Well, I haven't gotten a lot of love, and that's okay. It's not about me. It's about Belmar. It's about making this town better. We had Sandy. Sandy came through, did a number on the people that own property in this town, residents and property owners in town, commercial property owners. The extra money assessed right now, we just can't really afford, and we are passing it on. We have to pass it on at some point. But the insidious thing about the bid is that we weren't even assessed for a year for the money went out last year when the first bill came out. I mean, that's not right. And when these things come up, they should be done in a timely fashion. And then it puts an undue pressure on the people that own property, that have to try to keep those properties rented. Now, I'm one of the lucky ones in town. Every one of my spots are rented, but those rents are artificially low and I'm losing money. As taxes go up, insurance goes up. I want to put money back in my building. I have an idea for really doing a great job, but as you keep on zapping money out of my pocket to compete against the outlet mall, I mean, the marketing plan is just completely misguided. The businesses in Belmar do not represent that part of our society right now. Things have changed. They don't sell records anymore. They don't sell, a lot of stuff. And things move on. And then we have some great businesses, great restaurants. Things are turning around, not because of the bid, because of the people that come in, the entrepreneurs that bring their energy to the town. I don't want to get too long-winded here, but it doesn't seem like it's gone very good. The chairs they put in, they're too hot to sit in the summer. I don't know who figured that one out. The bike racks aren't really, I don't think they were thought out very well. Personally, the signage didn't come out very well. They're not color-coded. People don't, they don't see them. The stuff they've actually done, I think, has taken away from Belmar. The logo, personally, I don't know what it represents, but I think it distracts. By trying to make us like a mall, it's misguided, as far as I can see. So not only is it taking money from us, but it's putting in the hands of some people that don't even live in town or have really the passion for this town and the history that goes with this town. That being said, I want everybody to check out the new website at the Chamber of Commerce. It's unbelievable. We really have some good stuff going on. We have a huge meeting coming up, and I'm going to introduce Mark, GMS, a company that did come in town once again because he's an entrepreneur and he saw opportunities. And he designed a great website. We're trying to put together a team, and it's all volunteer, to make this town, like just go. And I think it's a great town. We got the boardwalk coming back. We got everything coming back. The extra layers and extra taxes just don't make any sense, you guys. Thanks.
Yes, Brian. He had his hand up. Yeah, I called on him.
Okay,
Brendan Reed, 109th Avenue. I'm here to speak on this resolution, and I just want to give perspective. I'm new to Belmar, but I'm not new to seeing the challenges of downtowns. I've lived in quite a few communities across the U.S. and Canada, covered downtowns as a newspaper reporter. In fact, led into my career in business as a business analysis. So many of the same challenges you see in Belmar, you see wherever you go. And it is also important that many of there are indirect benefits from the SID, which is actually the appearance of the community. Even if you don't shop here, the fact that you see the planters, you see these amenities, makes a difference in the experience of coming here and of living here and of visiting a community. It's just that kind of look and feel. Now, I think it's important to point out, though, that if you decide to approve this and go through it, that you really need to back this up with strategies to deal with several major, fundamental issues here. There's issues, for example, of the community's population is in decline. We've seen the census figures. We've got an aging housing stock. We've got a perception of crime in Belmar. If you go to two of those websites, you see, well, my God, look at all the crime in Belmar. So you've got some real challenges that are out there. But at the same time, fortunately, you've got a changing demographic that is very favorable towards downtown. You've got a younger population that is more geared towards walking. The current upcoming generation is driving less than previous generations. There's statistics out on that. So you've got a favorable base of individuals who want to come to Belmar, who would be amenable to shop, able to shop here, able to want to live here. But you have to support that, to support the efforts of businesses, whether it's supporting SID or not, with a type of economic strategy to kind of make that happen. So going forward, if you're going to go ahead with it, start taking a look at towards creating an economic development plan to support the businesses in this community.
There's a young man who walked all over the place right there, Tom Dilbert. Oh, my God.
How you doing, Mayor? My name is Marvin Ellis. I'm the owner of GiveMeService.com, and I started the company 15 years ago, and I work solely with small business owners throughout the state. And we moved here from Brick a year ago, and the community has been great, and they've welcomed us with open arms, and we are proud to be here. We've met many of the Belmar business owners, and I wasn't going to speak here today, and I got an email today from the BVP, and I have to say that as soon as I read this, I felt the need to come here and talk tonight and tell you all to save your money. I've been here a year, and I just found out about them about 5 months ago, and I don't think I've ever seen anything about them in my doorway or logos or whatever. No one's from the BVP has come to talk to me. I'm one of 15 business owners. They think in the last year they would have had time to stop by and say hello. But having said that, when I'm reading the email, you have to think that a person would put their best argument first on the email, and their email is, the first thing they say is, how will your business stand up to the continually growing threat of internet sales, regional and national chains, regional and big box shopping malls, outlet centers, and the many other challenges facing independent businesses? Well, I just think that's a scare tactic. The businesses in Belmar and small business throughout the country survive because they create value. And the people here, the small business owners in Belmar are creative, friendly, you know them by name, and that's why you do business with them. And they can compete with Walmarts, Kmart's, McDonald's, anywhere, because we got better food, better products, and better people. And I just think that that's why people do business with small business owners. So I think that what we need to do is to come together as a business community. And I'm not against the BVP having an entity, but if they are
creating a value, let them go out, knock on doors and gain memberships like every other business owner in the community, and not sock it to property owners and other people who have no say in anything that's going on with it. GiveMeService.com has grown to over 350, 400 business owners, and we don't get any additional funds, and I don't want any. I want to create a value, and that's how you grow a company, and that's how you improve. Also, what's the incentive for the BBP to survive, to come back here and get more money next year? You should be creating value for your customers, and that's how you grow, and that's how you get creative. If you prop up a business, what's their incentive to continue to improve? If someone was to cut me a check for $250,000 every year, I wouldn't have to go out and create a value for my customers. I'm getting the money anyway. I think that what we need to do is invite entrepreneurs, keep the property taxes down, keep rents down, and let Belmar be a competitive entity throughout the entire Jersey Shore, not become some expensive place for people to come with their families. And those are the end consumers who the prices and the taxes and the fees get passed on to. So that's just my thought.
We haven't seen you in a while.
Life takes over. My name is. My name is Patricia Texa. I own Nostalgic Nonsense Vintage Clothing at 903 Main Street, corner 9th and Main, under the yellow awning. Just a brief, people here I've never met, just a brief history of my business. I've been in business 24 years, Memorial Day. I moved my business here and opened July 4th weekend of 1993. And when I moved here, the canopy was still up. Okay, so I've been here not as long as Taylor Hardware, not as long as Don's Pizza King, not as long as Sensation, but I've been here through a lot of peaks and valleys. All right, I've seen the gamut of everything go on in town. My store, for those of you who don't know, I'm a niche store. I'm just to give you a history of who I am and why I'm here and what I have to say. I sell clothing that is either new or used from the 50s through the 80s, or I sell new stuff, brand new, made in a factory 6 months ago, that looks like it's from the 50s through the 80s. So it really is a niche. It's not a consignment store. It's not a give me your old jeans. If any of you have been into my store, you will know how spotless it is. It's not smelly. It's not the Salvation Army. All right, so I run a real tight ship. Okay, that's from my history. I moved to Belmar. I live in Brielle. The reason why I don't live in Belmar is because my house has been paid off for 10 years, okay? Where are you gonna go? I love Belmar. I spent all my money in Belmar. If I could, I would move here. It's just not possible. You're just smiling. You know I would. With all of that said, I just want, like I said, I want to give you a brief history that I've been here enough to see the ups and downs and the turmoil and the happy times. And I want to clarify, not that I want to clarify a few things. I have a few things to ask because I'm not sure about. But when it got brought up about the trees being planted, I am under the assumption that the borough designed where the trees go. Am I right? The borough designed it, not the special improvement district.
The borough engineer.
Yes, the borough engineer did that, not the special improvement district. So if the trees are in the way, blame the borough, or the engineer, or whoever did that. As far as the bike rack goes, and I will say this, I'm not on the board of directors, but I have volunteered my time, and I have volunteered extensive time with the special improvement district, because when you're in Rome, you do what the Belmartians do, okay? And if you're going to be against it or for it, fine. I can't stress enough, volunteer your time. If you don't like the logo, I know that 8 weeks were spent with 4 gazillion emails as to who likes the logo. The logo comes out, 4 gazillion people hate the logo. And then they go, I wasn't informed. Well, guess what? You're not volunteering your time. You haven't even reached out. You know how to get a hold of these people. Then, as far as the bike racks go, Belmar has no bike racks. Prior to the ones we have, there's no bike racks. Everybody's putting their bike against the tree, against the pole, against people's, they'll find a garbage can, it goes against the garbage. So this looks really great, okay? Everybody can get out of their cars, but there's bicycles attached to each other, and if they're not attached to each other, they're getting stolen because there's no bike racks. So somebody had to come up with the idea of, let's get bike racks. Then that was discussed for 8 weeks as to, should we get traditional bike racks? Should we get funky bike racks? What do we want to do with the bike racks? Emails were sent out to everybody. Things were said about volunteer your time. You put in your input on trees, bike racks, sidewalks, this, that. 4 people show up. Okay, so a decision has to be made. Do we get bike racks? Do we not get bike racks? What kind of bike racks do we get? Where do we put them? It was realized that parking spaces were a problem. What do you do with all this? You've got a handful of people who give their blood and sweat trying to do the right thing, and then listen, I wasn't on some of these committees. I sent some of the emails and I said this is not part of what I'm doing, but some of these people get criticized for this, and they weighed every option as to how to go about this to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. And a lot of this has to do with everybody is upset with any decision that gets made, yet they wait till a meeting like tonight to come here and complain about it. You have to open up your mind to disagree, but volunteer your time and disagree, instead of waiting till the last minute to get out your pitchforks and, go after Frankenstein. Okay. Now, as far as, I will say this too, no man is an island, all right? I do pay an assessment. My landlord owns the building that my store is in, goes from the bookstore to the bagel shop to Brandl's to the real estate office to me to the vacant store next to me, the cigar shop, Terry's beauty salon, the drugstore next to that, and the yoga place that just moved in next to that. That's my landlord owns all of that and 5 apartments upstairs, all right? And we're all getting assessed, and he's a major taxpayer in town, not the biggest, but a major one. Okay, and my landlord informed all of us by letter what the business district is, and he informed all of us, if you want to see this if you want to see this work for you, please participate, please volunteer. I'm the only one that volunteers. Okay, everybody else is really upset. They're getting assessed. They're getting this. They're getting that. In the meantime, no man is an island. So it was implied and said at this meeting and in other meetings that, what good is it going to do me if somebody a block away gets a new front? Well, if somebody a block away gets a new storefront, Belmar looks better. Guess what? If Belmar looks better, my store looks better. The whole town looks better. Okay, so good for them. I mean, I bought an awning long before I bought a new awning long before there was a business improvement district. All right, a year and a half-ish. Now, if I had known this was going to happen, I would have put in for a grant, because you could, whether you're an existing business owner or a new business owner, there's different grants out there that are available. Why do I know all this? Because I've done enough research. It isn't because I've gone to every meeting, because some of these people tell you they haven't seen me in months. It's just that I pay attention. I read the Co-Star, I go on the internet, I know what's going on. I know that if I wanted to improve my storefront, I could apply for a grant, and I don't need it. So hopefully somebody else will do it. Hopefully somebody who moves in across the street could apply for that grant. And if their business looks good, I'm going to get overflow from it. We are not an island, okay? We are not. I admire the people that take care of their own property, and they feel that they don't need a business. Do we need a special improvement district? I don't know, but I don't see it hurting, okay? And I'm sorry I'm rambling, but I'm very passionate about this. My biggest complaint is the volunteerism. That does not happen, and then everybody gets upset. I do want to say one other thing too. Some people get confused, like with the tourism dollars. Tourism fees, this is in relation to this. Tourism fees come out of, I pay a tourism fee. Everybody has a business in town pays a tourism fee. People who have summer rentals pay a tourism fee. The beach balls come out of the tourism fee. Tourism has been around for about 20 years in town. It's never been passed down to the residential taxpayers. It's state mandated. The same thing happens with a business improvement district. It's state mandated. The state sets you guidelines. The residents, and I'm not talking about the commercial property, I'm talking about just your everyday resident at 600 10th Avenue who just lives there. This assessment is never going to be passed down to them. It's passed to the commercial property owners only. Okay, so I do know this, and I just wanted to clarify that, because I think there are some residents that might be, I would be confuzzled too, because as a business owner, I've researched this. I also want to say that there have been instances of other towns that have thrived because of a special improvement district. Spring Lake's one of them, but with the budget that we haven't had, I don't even want to get into, I don't want to get into the administrative costs. I'm just talking about the overall budget. The first budget that came out, we were told, or they were told, the Business Improvement District was told to lock off $35,000 or something like that. That $35,000 could have bought more bicycle racks, better bicycle racks, maybe, and as far as the benches go too, there was a whole bunch of volunteers that picked out those, and everybody else is now upset. The benches, they're too hot, you can't sit on them, you can't do this. The Business Improvement District went to, I do believe they went to the mayor and council, or they asked for advice from the mayor and council as to what kind of benches to pick out, and they were told they had to kind of match the new recyclable garbage cans. So the Business Improvement District was steered in the direction of, please try and match what we've already done. So sometimes their hands are tied, okay? And again, I'm standing here as a volunteer. Now, I do want to say that, I want to get back to a point I was going to make a few minutes ago. My 5 minutes are up?
No, you're.
All right. But you cut me off. Okay.
You're making an excellent point.
Okay, I was going to switch a point. All right, I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Anyone else? Let's see if anyone else wants to speak. David.
We'll take advantage of the white piece down right
I'll try to keep it a little shorter than that. I'm sorry, David Schnack, 302 C Street. And I just want to say that, I do appreciate all the work that the people from the SID put in. And I have to admit, I don't want to diminish the value of all their efforts. And the town does look a little better. And, maybe they do have some very good ideas. But good ideas do not entitle you to force your ideas onto other people. And that if you want to volunteer, that's a really great thing. It really makes the town look better. But when you drag people in by force people to participate in an organization they don't want to be a part of, that ruins it. If it was strictly voluntary, it would be all good. Nobody would be here complaining. And even if they had to make do with a little less, if they really have so much support, they probably wouldn't have to make do with very much less. And everybody would be happy. There wouldn't be people here complaining, People are not responsible, just because you have a business, you're not responsible for other people's businesses. You may feel some moral obligation or sense of community, but there should not be a legal obligation to support businesses other than your own. And I also want to make the point that, we have a right to freedom of association in this country. And, people have like interests, as long as it's not an interest in some kind of criminal activity. You're perfectly free to form associations and clubs and, political parties, whatever. But, freedom of association goes two ways. You have the right not to associate just as much as you have the right to associate. So, your right not to be part of an organization is just as much of a human right as your right to form organizations. So I really think that even though sometimes, like in the case of the SID, the government doesn't recognize that right is still there, and people, are justified in being unhappy about being forced into an organization that they don't really want to belong to. And I'd like to address Mr. Redpath's assertion that nobody has an alternative plan, that everybody's criticizing it, but nobody has an alternative what to do. And I do, and it's very simple. And it's called free markets, and it's called freedom, and it's called people, being able to run their own affairs with minimal interference with the government. So my suggestion would be to make Belmar the easiest town in the county to open up a business in. That we can have the fastest amount of time from the time you look at a building to rent, that you can hang up your sign, and hang up a big sign, okay? Don't have restrictions, your sign can only be like this, and the letters have to be like that. So that would be my suggestion, is to turn Belmar into a free trade zone. You know, free trade resulted in the growth of cities for thousands of years. You know, they didn't have SIDS for Hong Kong, or for Mecca, or for, you know, all the great trading capitals of the world. They didn't need a SID. They had freedom, they had lack of regulation, and people could keep the fruits of their labor and not have it looted by somebody else, you know, and used for their own ends. So I really think that we should just try freedom. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Dirk Reitzma. I'm a business owner, property owner, and a resident of town, have been for quite some time. Also, I'm on the board of directors of the SID and a previous president of the Chamber of Commerce. A long experience in this town with business, and came to town 40 years ago to a thriving business community, and watched that community dissolve, basically. Vacant stores, weeds in the street, disheveled books everywhere.
Dirk, just address the council.
I'm sorry, but, yeah, I'm sorry. But since the inception of, and with little hope of change, the Chambers of Commerce are wonderful organizations. Unfortunately, the kind of change that's necessary requires money. It doesn't happen because I'm good looking, and it doesn't happen because I've got 6 volunteers to walk up and down the street to pass out a little flyer. It requires money. We just underwent a situation in the state of New Jersey where our beloved governor decided that he was going to restrict local communities in the amount of revenue that they could raise. And we've seen it, and the results have been the diminishing of DPW and a diminishing of this and that and the other thing, but it certainly put the local administrations into a bind as far as their ability to deal with any kind of improvement that might not have gone on in the business district. So a SID situation was created whereby the council could have a SID which could raise revenue to better the business district. And it was probably more appropriate because the business district should support itself and not the residents, even though the residents benefit absolutely directly from a thriving business community. Those examples are rampant. Asbury Park is a perfect example of a thriving business community that wasn't thriving so much, and property values that were ridiculous to go buy a house in Asbury now. So, and what needs to happen, we cannot get the compliance that's necessary without this kind of SID organization. I can't get this merchant to clean the weeds out in front of the store. I can't get that merchant to change his window dressings. I can't do that because they won't. They won't. We put out flyers of Belmar shines. Somebody used that expression that I think was complaining or something. That's our logo. That's our little thing. We put out a flyer last year. Gee, you know, please split up your store. We arranged for discounts at the local hardware stores, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, but we just didn't get the kind of, that all has to be created. This year's plans, we had plans to hire somebody to clean the streets. It's interesting, 2 years ago, my kids walking down the street and overhears a couple of tourists. You know, Belmar's a pretty cool place. Too bad it's so dirty. Well, you know what? Those tourists were right. But if you look around now, all of a sudden the place looks a little bit brighter. Oh, those horrible bike racks. Oh, the horrible plants that are hanging from the trees, from the things there. Oh, the little horrible benches that are too hot to sit on. Those little amenities seem to have created a much more positive business environment in town. Now, for those of you who know me or don't know me or whatever, I own the bike shop in town, and to be honest with you, I really would like to apologize to the community for the person that I had sold it to previously. He's wasn't a representative of what I feel should happen. But anyway, the new guy that's there now came to this town because he saw those improvements. He saw the viability that Belmar might have. If the SID is not allowed to continue, okay, the onus for that is going to fall, any improvements, is going to fall on the shoulders of the council, or it's going to fall on one of the other organizations, one of which isn't interested, and the other one which is strapped already as far as expenditures are concerned. So I'm kind of hoping that the thousands of hours that some of us have spent volunteering and the heart that we put into it doesn't go unnoticed, and I hope that you were allowed to continue. And I also, in closing, a lot of people have gotten up and complained an awful lot about, you know, it's really kind of a pocket situation. We're not really dealing with anything much more than that. But about having things shoved down their throats and not having a voice. The Belmar SID, the Belmar Business Partnership, is a very democratic organization and would welcome with open arms any kind of input from any of the business people in this town if they just come to the meeting. Oh, well, gee, we don't know what. Did you ever open up your emails? It's on there all the time. So, you know, thanks, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Connie? All right, we're gonna end on Connie, if that's all right.
Yes.
I can't think of anyone better to end on.
I just want to answer to the ladies,
But just address the council.
okay, and to the bicycle owner. I am before all of them. The town was more clean because we don't have no